You're the instructor. Your student surfaces after a 25-minute dive and says, "Why did my air run out so fast? It never goes this fast in the pool." That question has one answer, and understanding it will make you a better instructor, a better diver, and someone who can actually explain it, not just say, "because pressure." Welcome to Deep Dive Theory. Today, Boyle's Law. In episode 1, we established that pressure increases with depth. 10 meters of water adds 1 bar. If you haven't watched that one, the link is in the description. It's the foundation. Today, we build on that, because pressure doesn't just press on your body. It presses on every gas molecule around you. And when pressure changes, gases respond. Every single time, without exception. Robert Boyle figured this out in 1662. He was an Anglo-Irish scientist, not a diver, but his law governs everything that happens with gas underwater. Your lungs, your tank, your wetsuit, your BCD, all of it. The law is simple. If you keep temperature constant, pressure and volume are inversely proportional. When one goes up, the other comes down. Always by the same factor. That's the theory. Let me show you what it actually means underwater. The formula. Boyle's law is written like this. Pressure 1 times volume 1 equals pressure 2 times volume 2. What that means is the product of pressure and volume stays constant. If pressure doubles, volume halves. If pressure triples, volume becomes 1/3. Let me make that concrete. Take 1 liter of air at the surface, at 1 bar absolute. Now watch what happens as we go deeper. At 10 meters, the pressure has doubled. The air is compressed to half its volume. At 30 meters, pressure is 4 bar. The air is compressed to 1/4. That same liter is now squeezed into 250 milliliters. Now here's the key insight. Your tank doesn't hold a volume of air, it holds a quantity of air, a fixed number of molecules. When you breathe at depth, each breath you take has the same volume. Your lungs haven't changed size. But because the air is denser under pressure, each breath uses more molecules. More molecules per breath equals tank empties faster. At 30 meters, you're breathing air that is 4 times denser than at the surface. 1 breath costs 4 times as many molecules, so your tank empties 4 times faster. That's not an estimate, that's the law. This is why your surface air consumption rate, your SAC rate, is always calculated at the surface. It's a baseline. At 30 meters, your actual consumption rate is your SAC rate multiplied by 4. Now let's flip the equation, because Boyle's law works in both directions. On descent, air compresses. On ascent, it expands. If you take a breath at 30 meters, 1 liter of air at 4 bar, and you ascend to the surface without exhaling, that liter of air becomes 4 liters. Your lungs cannot accommodate a 4-fold expansion. The result is pulmonary barotrauma. This is where "never hold your breath" comes from. It's not a safety slogan. It's Boyle's law. The moment you stop exhaling during an ascent, you are fighting physics, and physics always wins. Boyle's law applies to every airspace in your body and your equipment. Your ears and sinuses, which is why you equalize on descent. Your mask, which is why you exhale through your nose into it. Your BCD, which is why it inflates on ascent if you don't vent it. And your wetsuit. The neoprene is full of air cells that compress at depth, reducing buoyancy and insulation. Teaching Corner. This is where we move from understanding Boyle's law to being able to teach it. Because knowing the formula is not the same as being able to explain it to a nervous open water student at 6 a.m. The balloon analogy. Blow up a balloon and squeeze it. The air doesn't disappear, it compresses into less space. Release it, back to full size. That's Boyle's law. Now tell your student, your lungs are the balloon. If you squeeze them, descend, the air inside compresses. If you let them expand without releasing air, ascend without exhaling, they overinflate. The balloon pops. Use this analogy before every open water confined water session. It takes 20 seconds and saves lives. Set expectations before every deep dive. Before any dive deeper than 18 meters, brief your students on air consumption. Say exactly this. At 20 meters, your air will go down roughly 3 times faster than in the pool. That's normal. That's Boyle's law. Check your gauge every few minutes and signal me at 100 bar. When students know why it's happening, they don't panic. Panic is what causes rushed ascents. Teach the never hold your breath rule with the reason. Most instructors say, never hold your breath and move on. The best instructors say, never hold your breath, because as you ascend, the air in your lungs expands. If you're holding it, it has nowhere to go. That's a burst lung. The reason makes the rule memorable. Students who understand Boyle's law don't need to be reminded. They understand. Most common IDC mistake. Candidates mix up the direction of the relationship. They say pressure increases, volume increases, the opposite of Boyle's law. Inversely proportional means opposite directions. If you see a candidate making this error, write P1 times V1 equals P2 times V2 on the board and work through a number. Put 2 bar for P2. Ask what happens to V2. The numbers make the relationship impossible to confuse. One IE question before we wrap. Pause if you want to work it out first. A diver fills a balloon with 3 liters of air at the surface and takes it down to 30 meters. What is the volume of the balloon at 30 meters? At 30 meters, the pressure is 4 bar absolute. Apply the formula. P1 times V1 equals P2 times V2. So 1 times 3 equals 4 times V2. V2 equals 0.75 liters. The balloon is now squeezed to a quarter of its original size. Same air, 4 times the pressure, 1/4 the volume. That's Boyle's law. Three things to take away from today. 1. Boyle's law. P1 times V1 equals P2 times V2. Pressure and volume move in opposite directions. Always. 2. At 30 meters, you consume air 4 times faster than at the surface. That's not bad air management. That's physics. 3. Never hold your breath on ascent. Boyle's law is why. Now you can explain the reason, not just the rule. If this was useful, subscribe. A new episode drops every week. Episode 3 is about Charles's law. What happens to gas when temperature changes? Spoiler, it matters a lot if you dive in cold water or fill your tank in the sun. Questions? Drop them in the comments. I read every one. See you in the next one.
Dive it, dive it, dive it, dive it, dive it, dive it. Dive it, dive it, dive it, dive it, dive it.